say. All right. That song that Nick sang, I hope Nick is around to hear me say this, that song that Nick sang, and we all joined in, just absolutely thrilled my soul. Because it's real life. It's just real life. We're dealing with reality. We're not talking about come to Jesus and, have a nice life. That's not reality. Because you come to Jesus, it doesn't shelter you from my father's word was exigencies, the distresses, the pains of life and loss. Gives you an anchor in the day of the storm. Assures you that you will get to the other side. Assures you that in the day of trouble he will deliver you. But you're never going to know that unless there's a day of trouble. It's the same old process. How do you ever learn to forgive anybody unless somebody does you down? You've got to learn to forgive. This is how we learn life. We learn life by living it and coming through the crisis. So my title today is Do It Again. And the scripture that I want to refer you to is from a little known book in the Bible called Habakkuk. And it's talking about reviving. And that's what it says in the old authorized version of the Bible. I have heard your speech, and I was afraid. O Lord, revive your work in the midst of the years. In the midst of the years make known, and in wrath remember mercy. In the Living Bible, which is my daily reading Bible this year, wicked men trust themselves alone, as these Chaldeans do. The Chaldeans were the big shots, the terrorists, the circumstances of the day. They represent what was going on in the actual world. And just go back to the one on 3:2. If you can go back to 3:2 in the Living Bible. And they fail, but the righteous man trusts in me and lives. That's a different one. It's okay. The point is this. The Lord wants to revive us in the nasty now that we live in, or the wonderful now that you live in the midst of the years. It does mean, for those of you that are young, you probably haven't got to this stage yet, although there are many stages all through your life where something matures and gets older. In the midst of the years, generally speaking, it's not when you start something that you've got a problem. It's not when you've got the finish line in sight that you've got a problem. It's usually that middle bit where you have to just flat out keep going. Amen. Anybody lived a life and know that I'm telling you the truth? Yes. It's in the middle of it. You can't quite remember the first, and you haven't quite got to the finish, and you haven't got to the joy of victory. But you're in the middle of it, in the midst of the years. It can also mean, quite rightly, in the world in which we live now, in the years that we are living now, 2017, in this year, now. And you've got to recognize that the very word itself, revive, means to say that something needs to happen again. It used to be, but it isn't anymore, but it needs to be again. Now, I can only tell you this. I'm not 80 years old, but I am 72. And I have been married for 52 years. I don't say that to brag. I'm just telling you that's how I've lived a life. And I think that should be normal. I mean, I think a good, long, happy marriage should be normal for people. It doesn't deserve a round of applause, and I don't want one. It should just be normal. But the point is, we've had 3 children. We've had emergencies when one of the children was 10 months old. I mean, serious emergencies. We had another emergency when the youngest was being born. She didn't breathe for the first 8 minutes. And it's just Mo and me, my wife Mo and me, in the bedroom with the midwife at home. And I said to the midwife finally, how long we got? She said, we got maybe 2 minutes. After 8 minutes, and I was up by the side of the bed kneeling and praying, calling on the Lord. I said, how long have I got? How long have we got? She said, the baby's got 2 minutes. I called on the name of the Lord. I said, Father, giver of life. She was blue. She'd done the thing down the throat. She'd put the tubes down. She'd upside her, and she'd done everything. And Becky was blue. My little Becky. Rebecca. No life, limp as a blue rag. I call, Father, in the name of the Lord, you're the giver of life. You gave this life. What had happened? The umbilical cord had got strangled around her neck. And the nurse, the midwife, had to reach into Mo and cut the cord because she was strangling on. She couldn't get her out because the cord was holding her back. Called on the name of the Lord. Please send life now. And then I heard, and I saw a little blue body turn pink. Yeah. So I'm just telling you that to say, I've been there too, kiddo. Yeah. I had a bad prognosis. I've gone to my annual checkups for the last few years. I had a bad prognosis, I don't know, 2-3 years ago. And my PSA, which is the thing they test in older men, they test their prostate on the PSA. Okay, yeah, how many guys know that's true? Huh? I hope you have a decent annual checkup. My PSA, everything in my life has been off the charts good. Just wonderful, all my life. I thank God for healthy genes and the word of the Lord that keeps us healthy. That's all I can say. I thank God for my parents. I didn't do anything for that. My PSA skyrocketed. And the doctor looked at me and he said, what happened? I said, I have no idea. He said, have you do this? I said, no, I'm fine. And you know the questions he would ask in relationship to that. I said, no, I'm fine. He said, well, I think you need to go for a biopsy. So I go for a biopsy. And I won't tell you what that was like, but it wasn't nice. They nipped the prostate 14 times. And the first 9 hurt, and then he said to me, now these last 5 are probably going to hurt. I said, what? And they did. And so now I've got a week's gap between the test and the result, like our friend, wherever he was, our friend. And that weekend I was happened to come down to Thibodeau. Remember that? Couldn't get into New Orleans. I can't remember why. I think all the flights were full or something, so we had to fly to Baton Rouge. So Mo and I fly to Baton Rouge and rent the car. Mo's worried. She's never known me be sick. She's never known, and this thing was off the charts. It's going to be cancer, isn't it? And So she was worried sick. And somewhere on the road from Baton Rouge to Thibodeau, somewhere near the big bridge, I don't know what that bridge is called. You all know where I mean, right? Somewhere near that big bridge, the word of the Lord hit my spirit. You're fine. There's nothing wrong with you. You're healed. So I turned to Mo. I said, babe, stop worrying. The Lord just spoke to me. What did he say? I said, the Lord just spoke to me. Guys, I said, the Lord just spoke to me. I turned to her, I said, babe, stop worrying, I'm fine. She said, how do you know? I said, the Lord just spoke to me. What did he say? I told her. I said, be at peace. And the word of the Lord brings peace. So, when it comes to this, revive your work in the midst of the years, whatever you're going through, he's going to revive your work. Whatever the circumstances are, his promise is to revive your work. Come on. Now, how this works is that you have to learn to trust him. What does that mean? It means he says something and you believe it. But then you trust him. Now we'll go to the scriptures. That's the scripture that the first one, but that's in the midst of our deep need. Look, Lord, now I've heard your report and I worship you in awe for the fearful things you're going to do. Fearful meaning awesome. Wow things. In this time of deep need, in this moment, in your life, in the middle of where you started and haven't arrived. Amen. Begin again to help us. I said, begin again to help us. Amen. As you did in years gone by. Show us your power to save us. In your wrath, remember mercy. So how this works then is Hebrews chapter 2 verse 4. Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 4. Wicked men trust themselves alone, as these Chaldeans do, and fail. People who trust themselves fail. I did it my way will fail. I know what to do. I got this. The word of the Lord, that's ridiculous. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm going to do what I want to do. It will fail. But the righteous man trusts in me and lives. How this works is you trust what he said to you. Come on. Yes. You trust him. Habakkuk 2 verse 18. What profit is there in worship all your man-made idols? Now you say, well, I haven't got any idols in my life. Yes, you do. You worship somewhere. And you may well worship and be happy and proud in the wrong way of your accomplishments. Look what I did. Look at the house we built. Look at the car I drive. Hey, man. Look what I did. This is my brain worked this out. Hey, not bad. Am I the only one in this room that may have thought a thought like that in days gone by? Did somebody else think that thought maybe in this house? Whoa, not so bad, Andrew. That will fail. Believe me, it will fail. What a foolish lie that they thought they could help me and do this. What fools you were to trust what you yourselves had made. Amen. Even trusting our past accomplishments. That's not trusting the word of the Lord. So it works. He's going to revive something that he spoke to us about and gave us his word, which the night has still dragged on in some cases. Nick sang the song. I want you to sing it at the end. If he's still here and can hear me, I'd like to sing it at the end before we go home. That is a great song because it's real life. Yes. You know, you're married, you're single, you're young, you're old. There's a certain level where you get to where expectations don't get met. Where it seemed to be better then than now. Come on, somebody.